Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Inside Africa. Let's begin from the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the ongoing tension in the country is making many people in Kinshasa nervous, and it is dominating debate in the media. Radio airwaves across the country are now full of talk of the crisis and how to resolve it. Opposition politicians in the capital are using talk shows to push for President Kabila's resignation.
The crisis in the east of the country is what many people are talking about in the capital, Kinshasa. Radio guests are politicians from the opposition and the ruling party.
People are generally scared to call in and talk about politics. But when the M23 rebels took Goma, they realized the fighting could reach the capital. They started calling, asking questions, demanding politicians to end the crisis.
Monsieur Kabila n'est pas un homme responsable pour gérer ce pays.
The opposition leader in the studio tells listeners perhaps it's time for President Joseph Kabila to leave office.
We have to push him out. In Tunisia, they have done so. In Egypt, they have done so. Okay? I'm just saying that the Congolese have to wake up.
On Saturday, an African Leaders Summit in Uganda ordered M23 rebels to leave Goma. So far, they say they won't go.
If, after the 48-hour deadline, M23 does not leave Goma, how does the government plan to react?
You will see. But a government, a serious government, cannot construct what can I say, reasoning out of if. We think that they are going to leave and that we shall take the control of the town. I don't think that they will be fool enough to challenge the whole region.
People know instability in the east could destabilize the region. Leaders from the Southern African Development Community are expected to meet in Tanzania later in the week. One matter on the agenda is possibly providing troops and resources to help bring peace to the Democratic Republic of Congo.
The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, has released the 2012 report on listed developed countries. This time, the report emphasized on harnessing remittances and the diaspora knowledge to build productive capacities.
Nationals of the world's poorest countries that work overseas have sent home some $27 billion in 2011. The governments of those countries should strive to employ this vast resource, which largely goes in private transfers, to improve the size of their economies, a new UN report recommends.
The Least Developed Countries Report 2012, entitled Harnessing Remittances and Diaspora Knowledge to Build Productive Capacities, was released late on Monday at the ECA in Addis Ababa. It says that the world's 48 least developed countries should take steps such as improving domestic banking and financial services so that a greater proportion of such money could be available for investment, small business development and job creation. The report also urges that governments should act to reduce the transfer cost associated with sending remittances home, which often runs as high as 12% of the amount transferred, which is about a third more than the global average. In particular, the report recommends that these significant flows of money be channeled effectively into improving LDC's productive capacities to provide greater varieties of sophisticated goods and services for domestic use and export purpose. Meanwhile, educated and highly qualified nationals of the world's poorest countries that have left to work elsewhere could counter the brain drain effect on their home countries by contributing to knowledge transfer and channeling investment back home, the report says. The brain drain statistics for the world's 48 least developed countries are stark. Among people from LDCs with a university-level education, about 1 in 5 leaves for employment elsewhere, as compared with 1 in 25 in the case of developed countries. Releasing the report at ECA was Tafara Tesfacho, who is Director for Least Developed Countries and Special Programs of the Africa Division. I have asked him concerning what governments need to do to broaden and empower their economies by maximizing the flow of remittances.
Governments can create the institutional and policy environment, okay, that makes individuals receiving remittance to invest in a more productive way. Otherwise, most of it is now being used for consumption, is being used for building houses, which is okay. Building houses is good because it generates employment, it generates activity.
He also commends Ethiopia's move to register sustainable growth. That is one helpful way to get out of the LDC's list.
Ethiopia is doing very well. Yeah. Obviously, the growth and transformation plan is helping, and then the growth is helping. There has been major progress. Because of the population growth, the GNI will take perhaps a while to reach. But in terms of the other two criteria, and Ethiopia is generally doing very well.
The report unveiled that remittance has exceeded FDI in 8 countries, including Ethiopia, from 2008 to 2010.
Now, Nigeria's capital, Abuja, is hosting a carnival of peace and harmony to preach peaceful coexistence and tolerance in a nation that has lately been trodden with unrest.
In a bid to promote peace and harmony in a country besieged by a series of bomb attacks in the last 1 year, the Carnival of Peace and Harmony brought together groups from across Nigeria to spread a message of tolerance. The Abuja Carnival, in its 4th year, was initially set up as a tool for cultural tourism. There are over 350 ethnic groups in Nigeria. This year, organizers said the aim was to promote the importance of peaceful coexistence at a time when parts of the country has been split, especially along religious lines. Emanuela Izrotu from Bayelsa State is happy with the event.
Since I came here, I've been enjoying myself. I've seen different cultures. I've seen many states that I've never seen before, and I enjoyed it. I just love to be here.
Mike Aubrey is a festival organizer.
The essence is to create a platform for our people, all of us, Nigerians, and even from the rest of the world, to come together and show the uniqueness of our heritage and that which has, given us the latitude to behave the way we do, in love, in peace, in harmony, and in brotherhood.
2 suicide bombs killed at least 11 people on Sunday at a church in a barracks in northern Nigeria. The festival was also an opportunity to showcase a rich mix of different backgrounds in Africa's most populous nation. Performers from Egypt, India, Cameroon, Trinidad and Tobago, and China also took part as part of the carnival's theme of cultural exchange.
And through the cultural exchanges, we bring our Chinese art, Chinese culture, Kung Fu and martial arts and acrobatics to Nigeria. And we also learn the Nigerian dances. Nigerians are very good at dancing and singing. We also want to learn this from Nigeria.
Over to Ghana, 320 students have been admitted to pursue diploma and certificate courses in nursing and medical-related courses at the Nabita College of Nursing. On completion of their program, the students will beef up the number of professionals in health institutions.
The Nabita School of Nursing is a private tertiary health institution in Tema, in the Greater Accra region. Established in 2008, the origins of the college can be traced to the Nabita Clinic in Tema, which was opened in 1979. As the clinic developed to take on greater responsibilities, it was upgraded to hospital status and named the Nabita Hospital in 1987. The shortage of health workers, including nurses, made the proprietors of the hospital established the School of Nursing to feed Nabita Hospital and other health institutions. Accredited by the National Accreditation Board, the academic program of the school is directed and supervised by the Nurses and Midwives Council for Ghana, while the University of Ghana is the mentor university. The need to run more programs in the health sector caused the change of name from Nabita School of Nursing to Nabita College. The School of Nursing continues to function as the component of the college. Nabita College offers diploma in nursing, medical laboratory technology, advanced diploma in medical assistantship, and certificates for health assistant clinical. at the 9th matriculation in Tema. 320 students took the matriculation oath to pursue diploma and certificate courses. The college president, Dr. Edward Na, said the training of more health workers will make the country meet its health needs.
In the recent professional examinations conducted by the Nurses and Midwives Council, our health assistant clinical students recorded 66.7% as against 55% the previous year. The registered general nursing students had 58.3%, which is above the national average performance. We presented 15 physician assistant students for their professional exams in July this year, and 11 of them have passed the exam.
Health officials at the matriculation expressed concern over the shortage and exodus of health professionals from the country. Former President Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings mentioned that although the National Health Insurance Scheme is making some progress, there is the need for scheme managers to do more to improve it, considering the increasing number of people enrolling on the scheme.
Patients have complained about some nurses who are cold, abusive, and insensitive to their plight. It is important that you do not adopt such habits when you join the service. The National Health Insurance, which had its beginnings during our administration, is playing quite a positive role, but it is still grappling with heavy bureaucracy, and nurses grapple every day to offer hope to all patients every minute, every day.
95 medical laboratory technicians graduated, with outstanding students and teachers receiving awards of recognition.
Still in Ghana, a sculptor along the Springters Road in Accra is catching the eye of people on that stretch of road with his creativity. To the artist, the leadership of the two major parties, the NDC and the NPP, value peace and therefore should remain committed to guarding it in the country. Gardner Setotzi believes that it behoves on the membership of the parties to be mindful about the fact that politics is about policies and not punches.
This is the Action Chapel side of the Springters Road. Both motorists and pedestrians alike are privileged to see the special assembly of the NDC and the MPP. A work of art produced by carving or shaping stone, wood, clay or other materials is sculpture. And with this, artists have the advantage of translating their thoughts into physical form. This time, the artists have got wood carvings draped in the colors of the two major parties in the country. In the mind's eye of this artist, this means the members of the parties will work at peace during and after the elections, irrespective of who emerges winner.
I thought that since it is these two major political parties that are creating tension, it is necessary for elders from both sides to sit together and discuss the need for peace.
Supporters, after that, after election, need peace.
To questions about why the other parties are not present at this make-believe meeting, the creators of this scene on the shoulder of this busy road believe that the peace and stability of the country largely depend on the supporters of the major parties.
Let's take on this last one from Ghana. The Minister for the Interior, Mr. William Kwesi Aboah, has tasked personnel of the security service to be vigilant, firm and fair in dealing with persons who intend to distract the elections irrespective of their political affiliation. Mr. Aboah, who was interacting with the Eastern Regional Election Task Force at Koforidua, reminded them to be neutral and not to expose their political lenience because that would dent the image of the service and the elections.
The meeting afforded the minister the opportunity to deliberate on a wide range of issues, especially on internal security, and to highlight on the major intervention that will be taken to ensure peaceful elections. It was also to address potential challenges that might confront security personnel in the forthcoming elections. The officers were drawn from the police, prisons, immigration, fire, customs, excise and preventive services, and the BNI. The Interior Minister, Mr. William Abua, said the government will support the security service to clamp down on any group of people who foment trouble. He said the government has accepted in principle to purchase a helicopter for the police to combat crime during the election. Mr. Abua encouraged the officers to exhibit the virtues of professionalism, integrity and sincerity to ensure fair and transparent elections.
As discerning officers and men, you need to remind yourself constantly that your allegiance rests with the state and not with any political party. Remain neutral and never expose your political leaning, since this could affect your right sense of judgment and jeopardize your enviable professional career.
The Deputy Minister for the Interior, Mr. Kobie Champong, also enlightened them on monitoring elections and how they should relate with the electoral officers for successful elections.
You need to be closely monitoring what is going on at the police station. Please don't stay aloof. If you stay aloof and he issues an instruction and you don't catch the instruction, you are not only going to incur the error of the presiding officer, but the polling station attendants, the polling agents, because they are always looking for an opportunity to say this security officer is biased, and you don't want to be caught in that kind of situation. So please, just be on the lookout and make sure that you cooperate fully with them.
Now, the world is marking 16 days of activism against gender violence amid concerns that the vice remains entrenched in the society. Many men and women continue to suffer in the hands of their spouses. In Kenya, the campaign has been launched in the Korogocho slum, where just as another informal settlement, gender violence is rife.
Hapo akanichapa 2008 alinichapa karibu nikufe mpaka nililazwa usi.
It all started in 2003. Stella Iwagati, a resident of Kariobangi, was in a relationship that she hoped would lead to a marriage. But before she was officially married, she found out she was pregnant. That was the beginning of her nightmare. The man she hoped would be their child's father did not only reject the child, but frequently abused her physically and even sexually.
Ananichapa kama mwanaume anarusha teke, siku nyingine hapo anakunja skamata, ile kitu tu atapata tu mbele yake, hiyo ndio atatumia.
Just as many women, Stella claims despite medical reports indicating abuse, she could not sustain any case against his partner as police allegedly demanded witnesses to testify to her story. Days turned into weeks, months and years. Abuse became a routine. Neighbors who witnessed Stella's abuse opting to remain tight-lipped as they feared the man would turn on them.
Nilienda police post na wakunisaidia, wakakataa kunisaidia. It was painful. Wakaniambia without mwenye ataandika statement hakuna penye hiyo kesi itaenda.
With 2 children, Stella kissed her relationship goodbye and started doing casual jobs, earning a few shillings to feed her children. Though life is tough economically, she says the relief from abuse is the best thing she did for herself and for her children. Stella is one of the many gender-based violence survivors in the country's urban slums where gender violence is prominent. It is for such cases that activists for the 16 days of activism on gender violence pitched camp in Korogocho slums to create awareness on gender violence. The campaign is christened World for 16 Days, runs for 16 days from the 25th of November to fight for women's rights.
In Uganda, the national census plan for the year 2013-2014 may not take place if the necessary funds are not made available. State Minister for Planning, Matia Kasaja, says while preparations have been made and a launch of scheduled money is still a problem. The last census conducted in Uganda was in September 2002.
Were met, but the census did not happen. The reason was that the money available was not enough to cater for the census and other priority issues in the country at the same time.
The question was, should we go for the census and we don't do roads? We don't fund UPE?
And so the exercise was deferred to another year. Now there are fears that even this planned census for the year 2013-2014 just might not happen.
Budget constraints again, so I cannot be very dogmatic, but we are working around the clock to ensure that we get all the necessary money to carry it out next year, because it is overdue.
Still, the Bureau of Statistics says they are making preparations so that if the funds are availed, the census will go on as planned. They have already mapped out the entire country and done a pilot to test the needed instruments. In the process, they have already seen a few trouble areas.
Are not very good, and yet we have to go to the deeper end of the villages and get to every household. The acceptability of the people, the willingness to provide the required questions and provide them correctly.
The continuous creation of administrative areas is also another handicap to the process.
We're not saying per se that it's bad, but when you continuously create administrative areas, then you increase on the cost of undertaking the activity.
The Bureau needed 33.3 billion shillings, and of that they have only received a little over 7 billion. They hope to receive the 25 billion by the end of this year. In the next financial year, they will need more funds to undertake the actual enumeration, which requires recruiting people, training them and distributing the necessary material.
We are still in Uganda, and this time around the police on Saturday released on bond 4 officials from the office of the Prime Minister and 2 other accomplices after they were arrested on allegations of corruption. According to a source, the 6 will help in investigations into the alleged misuse of 1.5 billion shillings money meant for the construction of houses in Kiriandongo for the people who were displaced in Bududa.
The officials include Taka Thaka, Irani, said to be an Indian national, Tikusoka Cyprian, the principal disaster management officer, his juniors Nyangoma Immaculate, Rachel Nachiugwe, and Okecho Emmanuel. 4 were arrested yesterday after allegedly failing to defend the value of 1.5 billion shillings that government allocated to the Ministry of Disaster and Preparedness to construct some houses for over 4,000 people that were displaced by landslides in Bududa in eastern Uganda. Each of the houses was meant to be permanent, with 2 bedrooms and a sitting room, but it is alleged that some of the houses have no shutters. It is alleged that Irani, who owns a hardware shop in Bweyale, conspired with some officials from the office of the Prime Minister to inflate prices of construction materials. It is alleged that Okecho received 60 million shillings on his account, but failed to account for it. According to a source, also some fuel receipts indicate that the money was spent, but there was no corresponding records from the suppliers. But it is not clear how much money was spent on fuel. A source told NTV that all the water tanks for the people living in the camps were purchased, but the indicated suppliers allegedly denied having supplied the tanks. According to a source, the police have summoned over 71 people in connection with the alleged misuse of funds in the office of the Prime Minister.
To wrap up, Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi has promised the country's top judges that he will restrict his newly granted powers to sovereign matters. Morsi spokesman Yasser Ali said the Islamic president made the pledge Monday during talks with the Supreme Judicial Council.
President Morsi is defending a decree placing his decisions above judicial review, stressing in a statement after days of protest the move is temporary. The argument has done little to quell the unrest, expected to peak again Tuesday because of what his opponents see as a power grab. Political activist Wael Khalil.
The precedent that he is making, that he is like unquestionable, even for a few months, is really annoying and worrying, and is really not the thing you expected from an elected president.
Mr. Morsi argues he needs to sweep the judiciary of the old guard to ensure a new constitution and parliament. But the desire for checks and balances against absolute power, a driving force in last year's revolution, remains. Mr. Morsi's opponents hope the power of the street will act as a check on what some are calling his attempt to become a new pharaoh. Activist Khalil.
I think it's a bit of an exaggeration. Not because I know his intentions, I really don't care about his intentions, but I think he cannot really become a new pharaoh. And what we've witnessed over the past few days really testifies to that.
The rallies have reinvigorated a fractured opposition. Political analyst Mustafa El-Labed notes that Tuesday's protest was called by everyone from leftists to nationalists.
All non-Islamic forces will be there, and I think this result is not so bright for Mr. Morsi.
Ramifications are being felt economically, with Egypt's stock market plunging despite a new preliminary deal with the International Monetary Fund, and international kudos for Egypt's role in brokering a ceasefire in Gaza last week. Mustafa El-Labed.
They are misinterpreting that as green light for them as a Western recognition, so they can do what they want internally in Egypt. I think they are making a fatal mistake.
Failing to stop the nation's economic decline is worrying. Political activist Khalil.
And I think that contributed to the anger against him, that he didn't attempt to do that. Had he, for instance, tried to do something for the people, to introduce improvement in lives of people, and the judges stopped it, then he would have had a case.
Mr. Morsi is now attempting to reach out to the judiciary, but it remains unclear if it will be enough to end the latest outburst of frustration roiling Egypt for nearly 2 years.
Well, that's the package we put together for you this day. Thanks for watching, and please don't go away. Coming up next is World News.